My name is Woon Xin Hui and I studied Geography and Political Science. And while studying, I also interned at the Jane Goodall Institute and the Institute of Water Policy under the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy. So because the environment is such a multifaceted field, I thought any judicious or comprehensive solution will require my experience in a range of fields, and that's why I got myself involved in basically everything from biodiversity conservation to hosting climate summits and so on. When I was in the Arctic, what really stood out to me was definitely wildlife because it's my first love. And so I witnessed firsthand that the Arctic is a region teeming with life, which actually reaffirmed my commitment to protecting life up there in the north. And so I really feel a much stronger urge to do something about global emissions so as to prevent the drastic ice melt that's happening up there. One of the key takeaways from the Arctic was definitely meeting the National Geographic naturalists and ship operators who have been operating in the polar regions for some over 30 years. Because these are the people who can confidently compare what it's like now versus decades ago. And when they attest to the ice melting insanely faster than before, or the species ranges being affected, their survival changing, it really scares me because these are the people with a long-term perspective. And at the same time, it shows how gradual the change is, that sometimes maybe human arrogance can prevent us from taking urgent action, even though the change when you compare the 2 points is so dramatic. So maybe we'll do better to listen to such experts like the scientific community because they have a much more informed view of how serious the crisis is and can provide the most judicious recommendations of what kind of action we need. I want to make an activity book for primary school kids, teaching them about local biodiversity. Because I've talked to a lot of local conservationists and we can all agree that if you don't feel connected to something, you won't feel an urge to protect it. And eco-literacy in Singapore is something that can be improved on. And more importantly, I want to inculcate values of respect for nature or responsibility for the environment, because ultimately I believe that what drives behavioral change isn't information, it's values. So for instance, I do everything I do because I value justice and compassion. And it's not because of the facts I know or the reports I've read. And so more broadly, I hope that public education takes a step in this direction, whether it's in schools or in public campaigns. I hope that we also focus on imbibing the right values, the eco-friendly values, instead of just presenting information to the public. So the youth in Singapore are actually doing a lot, but like with many ground-up initiatives, it's kind of like a tapestry. So I'm assuming that with greater coordination, maybe we'll be able to amplify and concentrate our collective voice, and perhaps with more resources available that we can tap onto, like funding or free venues for our events, we'll be able to do a lot more. And it's also an area where governments and the private sector can contribute to and collaborate with us.